I want. I have the patience in my soul, 'cause I know that it's worth it.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Princeton Clark here, and I wanted to pop in real quick and share this video. It's been a while since I really posted a long form piece of content, and I've gotten to this point where, I feel like the short form content, it's great, but it doesn't really allot me the time to really break down and explain or show the wisdom that I've gained and the way that I've gained it to give more feedback to you on your journey. So I'm going to start creating more long form content, and I'll try to keep it as short as possible, and I'll still cut these things up and create pieces of content out of it. But, with that being said, I want to just dive right into this, because I realize that there are a lot of you out there who are saying, I'm ready to grow. I'm getting all the information. I'm going to the events. Or you're burnt out from events. You're burnt out from all the information. You're so consumed by the information that you're struggling with analysis paralysis. You have all the ideas and all the information on what to do, but you don't even know when to do it or how to completely align it with what you truly desire. And I wanted to address this today because I find that a lot of people are skipping so many steps. The problem with the information age is that you can find information for anything. You can find someone teaching something about anything. But the thing is, you can't just consume and think that because you have all the information and you can say all the right things, or you might have the idea or even the vision, and it's going to manifest because you have the information. Understand this. As someone who's taught self-mastery and personal and human development for almost 2 decades, I can tell you right now that growth does not happen overnight. It happens in phases, and growth does not happen if you are trying to take on more than you are at a stage to be able to handle. And see, this is what's happening for a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, a lot of people entering into their spiritual development, personal development space. And they're at this point where they're constantly consuming, which I admire you for going after, for seeking. But what I want to challenge you with today is slow down. Imagine if when you started school, they just started trying to teach you calculus, but you hadn't learned how to count yet. You hadn't even learned 2 plus 2. You hadn't even learned division, multiplication, geometry, algebra, pre-algebra. You hadn't learned any of those things, but you were consuming all of this information and they were just teaching you all these things to the point where you could regurgitate back to them what they were saying to you, but you wouldn't know how to process through it in each individual phase because you hadn't learned the steps. Same thing with reading and writing. If I don't even know my ABCs, I don't know the order of my ABCs, I don't know how to form words or even pronunciate words, how am I ever going to truly read? How am I ever going to truly write efficiently? Now, this is what we do. If we can look at the schooling system, just as an example, because I understand there's a lot of things wrong with the education system, but if we just use that as an example and we apply that to how we are trying to grow today, we can easily see that there are so many phases that a child must grow through in order to learn how to start applying the tips, the information, in order for their growth, in order for them to comprehend and be able to apply what's being taught to them. But we live in this information age now, and information is bombarding our social media platforms, it's bombarding our TV, it's bombarding everything. And now we have so much easy access to information, whether it's personal, professional, spiritual, whatever it is. We have access to so much information, and what's happening is in this fast-paced society, everybody's consuming until they're becoming constipated with information that can create transformation, but indirectly it creates confusion through analysis paralysis, because now you got so much information that even though you know what's possible for you, you don't even know where to begin. And so you start looking sporadic. You're working on this, and then you're doing this, and then you're doing this, and then and you're not becoming good at anything, or it's not lasting. It's not staying consistent because you haven't developed over time. Now, as someone who teaches self-mastery doesn't just focus on the internal. That's the main part of it. As I always say, you are the root to the tree of your life. But self-mastery It's about getting so connected to yourself, understanding yourself, learning how you learn, learning how you receive information, learning your habits, reconstructing your habits to create new disciplines so that you can now move masterfully in your potential, in your power, in your purpose, so that the branches of the tree of your life, relationships, business, mental, emotional, spiritual, so that the branches of your life can produce the fruit that they have the power, potential, and purpose to produce. That's something you guys always hear me talk about, their power, potential, and purpose. But if you are not starting at the root, if you are not coming in, doing the introspection, if you are not being honest with where you are in your life, if you're not being honest about what you don't know and what you haven't embodied, and you keep trying to skip steps, this is why many of you keep getting to this place in your life where it feels like you took 20 steps forward and got knocked 30 steps back, and it's like, what's going on? I keep doing it. When is my time going to come? Your time will come when you are ready, because you are the root to the tree of your life. If it's not coming, it's because you're not ready. It's because you have not positioned yourself, embodied the information, and gotten discipline, created the habits or the level of awareness in order to not only manifest, but to sustain that vision that you have for yourself, for your life, for your family, whatever it is. Now, again, I want to challenge you. Slow down. Mastery happens over time. I haven't always been a great speaker. I haven't. I remember the first time I had to speak for 15 minutes, I cried like a baby before I went out on stage. I had pages and pages of notes, and I didn't believe I was ready. I only had to speak for 15 minutes. I remember when I first started creating videos, and people would be like, man, that video you posted was really good. But what they didn't see was the first 75 videos and starts and stops before getting to this one video. I used to walk around my house and I would speak as though I was in front of thousands of people, but I would just be by myself. I was developing my skill. I was learning tonality. I was learning how to interact and engage. I was imagining myself seeing people in agreement, seeing people confused, and how I would respond. I was developing the skill over time. And then I would study other great speakers, and I would study and learn how to emulate certain techniques to make them my own. Not imitate, but to emulate and make them my own. See, in order to embody, when I talk about embodying information, it's about taking that information that is in alignment with the vision that you have, emulating or bringing it in, embodying it, and making it your own to a degree that the fruit that you are meant to give birth to begins to show up. It begins to manifest. It begins to be actualized in your life. But if you are not applying action every single day, if I know that mentally I lack discipline, then the first thing I'm going to focus on is not consuming a bunch of information. I'm going to focus on what's right in front of me that I'm not disciplined with. I'm going to focus on, can I get up early in the morning to give myself more time in the day? Because I know that once 12 to 2 starts coming around, I'm not as focused. I'm not as driven. I'm not as tuned in as I am when I first wake up in the morning. Now, that's just an example. I understand we all have different schedules, different lifestyles, so on and so forth. But in a nutshell, I'm going to look at where I am. I'm going to get very clear. Okay, Princeton, you're not disciplined in this area. Financially, you're not wise enough to handle money correctly. You haven't disciplined yourself with finances. And this was me early on. This is why for years, I wouldn't charge people for coaching. Because I always would say, I want to have money, but I don't want money to have me. I don't want money to be the deciding factor in whether or not I can show up in my fullest potential on any given level. I became so hyper aware of me, my state, my emotions. I became hyper aware of how I communicated, what I gave my attention to, what I gave my intention to. I became hyper aware of conversations that I had. I became hyper aware of my circle and who I put myself around. I became super focused on me, and I put myself in a mirror every single day, and I began to evaluate myself. That's step number one, because if I don't know where I am, there's no way that I'm going to ever get clear on where I'm going. See, a lot of the times we're struggling and people say, well, I have this problem and I'm struggling with this problem. But most of what most of you consider problems are not problems. They're symptoms of a problem. And this is another reason why a lot of you are not growing or moving or manifesting the way that you know you have the potential to. the way that you are aware that you have the power to. Because it doesn't matter if you know you have the potential. It doesn't matter if you know that you have the power. It doesn't matter if you know that you have a purpose. If you don't know where you are, and that's not rooted in something that's solid, if your foundation, you, is weak, then anything that you can perceive as possible for you, not only will it be limited in action, it will be limited in your ability to perceive what's possible in the moment based on the information that you have. And this is why people go to events, they pay and invest for coaching and coaching and coaching and all the books and all the stuff, and they still don't see it showing up in their lives because they haven't gotten clear within themselves. The foundation of them has not been mastered. They lack self-awareness. They lack self-clarity. And as a result, they lack the ability to move efficiently in a way that's going to get the result. Now, this is not hard to hear, guys. People say, I don't know where I am. Yes, you do. You know where you are. You also know why you're there. You know that you don't wake up and give yourself time. You know that you don't spend time writing your vision out daily. You know you don't spend time communicating your vision. You know you don't spend time evaluating yourself consistently. You know you don't spend time writing out your goals and writing out the steps to those goals. You know you don't spend time creating a circle around yourself to hold you accountable. See, we know why we are where we are. It's just a lie that we tell ourselves, and this is why we don't move. I knew what I didn't know. When I decided to change my life after a failed suicide attempt, I understood that my habits and how I had been, if I didn't change them, it wouldn't create the reality that I was realizing I had the potential to create. I knew that I didn't know how to love myself. I knew that I didn't know how to build a business. I knew that I didn't know how to create the relationship that I wanted because I didn't even have it with myself. And so everything that I was aware of made me, again, hyper aware of where I was showing up inadequately for myself. And this is why to this day, I don't complain. I don't focus on the external. I don't focus on what's not happening and who's not there in the reality of my life, because I understand, again, that I am the root to the tree. And if the fruit is not manifesting, it's because I'm not manifesting at a certain level. I'm not operating away with clear vision, clear directive, clear discipline, clear inspiration to keep me motivated and inspired to manifest and actualize what I know or believe deep down at a soul level is possible for me. So if that's the case, mastering me always brings me back to the root. Okay, that didn't work out the way you wanted. How are you showing up? How are you communicating? Were you clear on the vision? Were you clear in how you communicated? Did you set healthy boundaries? Did you create a standard? And did you operate based on that consistently in a way that it created alignment? Well, clearly you didn't, Princeton. Okay, so I take full ownership of that. And I'm going to come back. I'm going to address me. I'm going to love myself for being able to acknowledge and take responsibility. And then I'm going to ask myself, what can I learn right now in this moment? What's one thing that I can apply in this moment to start creating the foundation for a new creation? What's one thing that I can focus on today, or a couple of things that I can focus on today to take my habits and my discipline to the next level? What's one thing that I could focus on today to take my ability in communicating and connecting to my audience in a better way? What's one thing that I can do today to learn how to be a wiser man, more connective man, more loving man, to take my life and relationships to a whole new level? See, self-mastery always comes back to you. If your life is not manifesting, the results are not manifesting or being actualized, there is something you are not mastering within yourself. There are steps that you are trying to skip, even if you have all the information and you go to all the events and you have all the titles and all the accolades. I always tell people, I don't care about your accolades. I don't care about who you know, what you work with. I don't even care about how much money you made. If you are still plateauing like this, if you are still at a point where you're constantly comparing and assessing yourself based on externals, you haven't mastered yourself. I'm not impressed by any of those things. A fool can make money. A fool can get around the right people. It doesn't mean you've arrived and you've done the work. And this is why many of you are frustrated, feeling burnt out. You're walking away from, or already have walked away from, or contemplating walking away from what you've been working on because it just feels like it's not working. This is why many of you feel trapped in relationships. This is why many of you feel trapped in jobs that you know that you are not in alignment with anymore. This is why many of you can't find peace in your life. This is why many of you don't feel love in your life. This is why many of you don't feel complete and whole in your life, because you have not met yourself fully. And so when I was growing and I started studying human motivations, and I really got connected to emotional intelligence and the roles that those two things played in self-mastery, in developing skills and developing habits, I really hit stop on everything. And I know that sounds crazy, but the spiritual journey is not easy. It's not for the faint at heart. And first and foremost, I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm a spiritual guide who just so happens to know how to apply spiritual wisdom, because I am a spirit creating this life. Because I'm aware of that, I just so happen to know how to apply it to business. I know how to apply it to life because I'm the root to everything. I know how to apply it to relationships. It's like second nature for me at this point. But see, a lot of us are only functioning from the surface. We're not functioning from the soul. And whenever I work with clients, I always tell them my goal is not to lead you into the externals. My goal is to lead you so deep within yourself that you connect to a place within yourself that becomes relentlessly inspired to transform your life to the point where you don't need external motivations. In my new book that I'm working on currently, Motivation to Mastery, that's something that I talk a lot about. But I just wanted to drop that in here today. And, there's so many different layers to that, depending on where you are, that I could guide people through. But I just wanted to give you that to think about. Are you just consuming information? Are you just trying to skip steps? Have you learned the basics, and have you learned how to embody the basics? Jordan didn't become Jordan overnight. Kobe didn't become Kobe overnight. We can go down the list. Michael Jackson didn't become Michael Jackson overnight. We can go into all other fields where people have developed and manifested greatness. They did not become those things overnight. They started with the basics. The basics will lead to your greatness. But as long as you keep avoiding the basics, as long as you keep avoiding yourself, as long as you keep wearing masks and pretending, as long as you keep faking it until you make it, you're never going to make it. You're never going to actualize it. You're never going to see it manifesting into fruition in your life. Doesn't matter how great your vision is. You can have a great vision and never see it come to pass because you didn't get rooted and focus on the basics of your own personal, conscious, spiritual development. Stop trying to do calculus. Learn how to count. Stop trying to write full essays and learn your ABCs. Learn how to form complete sentences. Just examples. But you are powerful, but you're misusing your power if you're not seeing it manifesting in your life. And if you're not willing to admit that to yourself, if you're not willing to take ownership for yourself and how you're showing up or failing to show up, don't expect your vision to show up, because it won't. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Let me know where you're struggling at. Let me know what this video addressed with you. Let me know what you think about the concept of skipping steps. Have you done it? And what did you learn from it? I'd love to hear from you. But I got more content coming on the way, but I'm going to start posting longer content like this on my profiles that allow it. But I'll also create some little sound bites. But ultimately, again, I want to start creating more content like this to not just share videos, but to inspire you. Anything that I post to challenge you to think. I speak to your heart, not your head, because your heart knows when you're not in alignment. Your soul knows. Your soul knows when you're not operating at the potential that you have the ability to. Your soul knows when you're not showing up consistently. Your soul knows when you don't have the right habits or mindset. Your soul always knows. Your soul knows you better than anything. And this is why self-mastery is so important, because if you don't go back to that place first, if you don't go to that kingdom within, that wealth within, that power within, acknowledging yourself as what you are, a powerful divine creator beyond who you think you are, this personified idea of self, you'll never experience the life that you want. And years will pass you by relationship opportunities, business opportunities, new experiences, all these things will be missed because you never met yourself. And so I challenge you, if you're struggling in this area and you're like, I really need a coach who's going to help me get here, reach out to me. But understand, the journey starts and ends with you, not the externals. The more clear you get with you, the more clear it begins to form in your life. But I love you guys, man. And again, more content like this on the way. If you appreciated this, if you got something out of this, I'd love to hear your comments below. And I really want to work on getting my engagement back up on social media because I haven't really been as active as far as content like this. I'll post stuff every now and then, but I'm realizing that a lot of people are struggling with leadership within their own lives. They're struggling with self-mastery. But the thing about self-mastery is it's not popular. It's not glamorous. It's not something that people chase after. People just want the results. But if you've been called to something great, again, a fool can make money. If you just want to make money, you don't need to master yourself. You just need to understand certain principles. But I can guarantee you, you won't have a full life. You won't truly experience a free life because you'll constantly be chasing the externals, constantly be in the comparison mindset. You'll constantly be in a state of not enough, a state of lack. Even people who have money, I've worked with 7- and 8-figure earners on the verge of committing suicide, struggling with deep depression, not fulfilled in their life. So when I hear people talk about the surface stuff, I'm not impressed. It means nothing to me. It's like, okay, you made money. Great. Doesn't make you a success as it pertains to life. You were just great at that business, or maybe you got lucky. Looks good on social media because everybody's chasing vanity. But what does it profit a man to gain the world yet lose his soul? What are you giving up? See, again, you are the root to the tree. Every branch should thrive. But the only way to truly create a fulfilled life where every branch in the tree of your life is thriving is through mastery. And that's what I help people to achieve. But anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, evening, whatever time it is. I just send you guys so much love, and I'll be talking to you again soon.